Hey, Rich.
What's going on?
Oh, here we are. Same place.
Feel like this is all I've been doing all week long, even more than normal.
I know. And there's Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
There she is.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I have to say that you all have been doing an absolutely amazing job on reaching out every day, making it easy for people to get to where they need to be. My students have been thoroughly enjoying the conference, really. So congratulations to everyone.
Thanks, Linda. Chris has been, I'm telling you, well, everyone, the whole team has been great, but he had a vision for this conference and, he really made it happen. It's really impressive.
Yeah, well, Chris really deserves a lot of credit for what's been going on.
Yeah, it's just so well orchestrated. Just to give you an example, I'm going to be connecting with Alpha Chi Honor Society. Their conference is starting tonight, and and the messaging that's been coming.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the NRHC 2021 virtual conference. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amarie Della Pizzi. I am from Dominican College, which is a small little liberal arts college about 30 minutes north of New York City. And I am one of the 2 faculty reps this year. This is my last year on the board, so I'll be missing everybody, but it's been an incredible experience. So welcome to our Consultants Corner. So for those of you who have attended the conference in person, or if you haven't attended the conference in person, the way this works is kind of as a rotating round table. So if we were live and in person, we would have maybe 4 or 5 tables set up, and you would have the choice of rotating from table to table, and you would pick, maybe 3 tables in that session, and each presentation would be about 20 minutes. So given the virtual format, we decided to do it just a little bit differently this year. So one of these sessions that we typically have at Consultants Corner is Beginning in Honors. So that is tonight in a separate room. And this session right here is for, people who may not be so beginning in honors. You may be a little bit more experienced in honors. So we have 2 presenters for this evening. Each presenter will get about 10 minutes to open up the discussion, to give some background information. And then we will open up the floor for discussion, questions, and conversation. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Patrick Fazioli. He is from Mercy College, and he is going to be talking about the honors capstone experience, benefits and challenges of designing and supervising the honors capstone. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Patrick and turn off my microphone.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. So hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Patrick Fazioli. I'm the co-director of the Global Honors Program at Mercy College. Some of you may know my co-director, Rena Ellison, who's the current president of NRHC. And so I want to just talk a little bit about the capstone experience at Mercy, and then hopefully open up some conversation for other directors and staff members who want to maybe talk about whether you are interested in starting a capstone course at your institution, or whether you have one that's existing and you're you could share best practices or challenges and so forth. So I want to keep it past 10 minutes, like just help me, and I'll wrap it up quickly. But I just want to start by giving maybe a little bit of background. When Arena and I took over the Global Honors Program at Mercy in 2017, there was no capstone class. And one of the things that we did as part of the general curricular reorganization, let's say, that we initiated with the program was to institute a capstone class. I had some previous experience running a capstone class at my previous institution where I was the director, and I kind of brought that approach to Mercy in sort of the new iteration of our honors program back in 2017. And so what is the purpose of a capstone course? It's an opportunity for students to do some kind of synthetic high-level work that hopefully brings together some of your program learning outcomes and gives them an opportunity to investigate a topic of intellectual or social significance. It's sometimes also referred to as the honors thesis, and some of you may think of it as the honors thesis. I sort of prefer the term capstone because I think it encompasses a wider array of different types of projects. So in a second, I'll sort of talk about the different opportunities that we give students at Mercy. But for me, like a thesis is something that's sort of kind of more of like a traditional research paper. And while many of our students do this kind of paper, we also want to give the opportunity for students to do different kinds of things. So the way that the capstone works at Mercy is that it's a course. It's a 400 level course that is required for students to complete the program. At least the students who are under our sort of new iteration of the program, the students who were previously in the program got a chance to be, they sort of got grandfathered out. Some of them did take the capstone anyway if they had like a open elective and they wanted to get the experience, but it's a requirement for the newer members of our program. And again, it's a 3-credit course. I teach it every semester. I usually have between 6 and 10 students in the class. And it's kind of a hybrid between a, let's say, directed readings or supervision type of course and a kind of a research methods course. So some weeks we all meet together as a small group and we talk about a specific part of the research process or the writing process and so forth. And other weeks I meet with students individually to work on their topics. So we give students the opportunity to sort of choose any topic that they want. It doesn't have to be something that's related to their major or their program or their intended career. Many students do go in that area, but sometimes students will do something completely off the wall, just like a pet project or an interest that they've always wanted to have. So, what I tell students at the beginning of the semester is basically just choose something that you're really passionate about. So maybe that's something that's related to your major, or also maybe it's something that is just a side interest that you never really had the opportunity to take an entire semester to explore. So our requirements are pretty broad. Like I said, you just have to tackle a project of some kind of social and or intellectual significance. It has to have a significant writing component, a significant research component. It has to be publicly presented. One of the things that we instituted when we put the capstone course in is that the capstone students have to do a presentation at our honor symposium that we have every semester. So they have to, sort of get up in front of the rest of the program and give a sort of short spiel, usually with, it used to be with an academic poster, but now, of course, in the days of COVID, it's been a little bit different. But in any case, we still hold the symposium virtually. They still have to do a public presentation of the project. And so again, there's lots of different types of projects that our students have done. As I mentioned before, I would say, most students, I would say, do something that's in the kind of traditional research vein, the 25 to 30 page thesis project on some topic of their own choosing. But we have had students that do other types of projects. There are, for example, a number of students who are heavily involved in like a not-for-profit organization, and several of them have chosen to like design a website for their not-for-profit. And so we do a very detailed website that has a lot of the background and the research about whatever topic it is that they're interested in. But they have a more of a tangible product than, I shouldn't say tangible, they have more of an applied sort of product for their not-for-profit, right? I want this to be something that is useful for students. I tell them, this could be a writing sample for graduate school. It can be, helpful on your resume going out into the job market. And so, there's a kind of an academic element to it, sort of just the opportunity to explore a topic in that kind of in-depth fashion. But also we want it to be useful for students as well. So, I've taught the class now for about, I guess, 3 years or so at Mercy. And it's been an incredibly valuable experience for me. I have so much fun teaching this class, working with these students, just getting into their sort of unique interests and seeing each one of them, at the beginning of the semester, even the honor students are very intimidated by the length and the scope of a project like this. But to sort of see them at the end of the semester, they have this incredible pride that they did something they never really thought they would be able to do. And so that's so satisfying to see every semester. So again, I mean, I just think the capstone experience, the thesis project, is an invaluable part of the honors experience in many ways. And it's, I think, great just not only for students, but for the faculty who supervise it as well. So I'm just going to conclude by maybe offering a couple possible places for discussion. So I figure everyone in here either has an honors capstone or thesis as part of their program, or they don't. So if you don't, then it would be interesting to hear maybe why you're interested in starting one. If you are, what the obstacles might be to putting a capstone course in the curriculum. But if you do have a capstone, what are the challenges that you face? What are the issues that you've had? What are the best practices? What are the things that you've found to be successful? How is your capstone experience different than the one that I just outlined that we have at Mercy? So again, a lot of different areas that we could go in, but I'm just going to stop talking now and open up the floor to anyone who wants to share something about their own capstone experience.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm just going to read, there was a question from Kat McDonald in the chat room. So there she is. So I'll just read that to you. So the first thing she asked was, would you be able to share the syllabus or materials with us? It would be great to see the structure of the course. And
absolutely, yeah. So I mean, I can't, I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, so I can't share it right now because I'm on a cell phone and I can't share my screen anyway, but I would be happy to, if we have a way to distribute my capstone syllabus so you can sort of see exactly how I structure it, because I do have every single week planned out. I guess what I would say is that every single week we have an assignment. So it's like I bring the students through the entire research process. We spend probably the first third of the course just narrowing our questions and just sort of focusing on what we actually want to investigate. And then we have like an extensive outlining stage. And of course, like they're doing research and building annotated bibliography as we go along. And then, eventually into sort of draft phases as well. So I've been doing it for so many semesters. I sort of know exactly, how much is the right amount of work for each week so that they get to the kind of end goal without being overwhelmed with any one piece of it.
And I'll just read her other question that's in the chat room. Is there a theme that you use year to year to inspire project ideas? Do guided readings change?
Yeah, so no, there's no particular theme. I just, at the beginning of the semester, just again, like I said before, I ask students to pick something that they're passionate about, and that I'm very open to exploring any kind of topic with them. And even if it's something that maybe at first doesn't sound like sufficiently academic, that they would be surprised as to how much scholarship there is on, topics in pop culture, or topics in, all sorts of things that they think is just like a hobby for them. But in fact, there's a way to explore it in a kind of academic sense. And so I just try to leave it as open as possible. And so, no, I don't adopt a particular theme every semester. I try to just start from scratch with each individual student.
Okay, so let's open the floor up for discussion. If anyone would like to share information about what they do with their honors projects or thesis.
I'll go for it, Anne Marie. Hey, everybody. I'm Kat McDonald. I'm with Monroe College, and my colleague Bruce Wigato is here with us tonight. So at Monroe, we also consider our course a capstone. That's what we call it. We call it the capstone. We call it Monroe College, or Honors Program Research Seminar is the formal name of the course. And I shared my most recent syllabus in the chat. And what we do is we actually, similar to what Mercy does, is we ask the students to choose something that they're very passionate about, but we always have an academic theme for the year. So we include the theme statement in our syllabus every year. And what the students do in this class is they do basically the equivalent of a thesis 1 in graduate school. We ask them to basically construct a research proposal. So they have to choose a topic, they have to narrow down their topic, they do a literature review. And we walk them through the whole process of doing the literature review. We actually start with an annotated bibliography. Then we move to the literature review. Then they develop a problem statement. So an area where they see there could be a potential for new research. And that moves us into a chapter 1, introduction, problem statement. And then they work on understanding how to start to draft a methodology. And the way that we pitch it to them is, this is something that if you do want to go on to graduate school, you might be able to carry it with you there and continue to work on this in grad school, because some of them do go on. Like we have all students who do public health, criminal justice. Some students are in different fields, whether it's information technology, hospitality, but some of them have gone on and kind of use what they began in their capstone, and they've carried it with them into graduate school, which has been kind of nice. So that's kind of what we do. And similar, we make them do in person. If we're in person, they do a poster presentation of their proposal. But this year we've been doing virtual presentations where people from the college come in and, and then they do a thesis defense, or a proposal defense at the end of the semester. So I get to listen to the proposal defenses tomorrow, so that'll be fun. But yeah, that's what we do.
I can sort of share what we do at Teal College. We're up at Little College in Northwest PA. And I sort of inherited this thesis when I came into the position. And I think there was a lot of dissatisfaction among faculty advisors. And I think there was confusion among the students about it. It's a requirement. Everybody in the program does it. It sounds where we are. It sounds like a lot like what works at you, Patrick. There's a class they take and complete the thesis. So what we found is we just communicating about the thesis more consistently and earlier in the program has been really important for us. And we withheld my faculty really focusing on what we want that to be. And so we talk about, like you, a variety of types of projects. We have different models of a project. We talk about academic research, interdisciplinary research, creative or artistic, applied. And then we talk about but all of them, no matter what you do, you're going to have an original contribution. You're going to contextualize what you're doing, and then you're going to disseminate that to a broader public, whether it's on campus or in another kind of community. What we've had is that the one class of senior year was just not enough time for our students to do it. So we built a lot into the junior year class, which is sort of like a creative class. And we built in some interesting assignments. I have them go back to find a research paper they did at the beginning of their college career and like sort of review it. I have them go and find different examples of types of research. Have them look at old theses that other previous students done, and we sort of talk about what others have done. So getting them, it's like an opportunity to sort of think about their own work, and then how they want to sort of fit into these different communities or different traditions wherever they are. But it's taken a lot of communication, and I wrote a new thesis handbook, and I think that part's been important too.
Yeah, I would just say that my dream would be to have a 2-semester capstone sequence, right? That would be to have a full semester, like what Kat is saying, where they just do the proposal for a full semester, and then you have another semester where they can do the writing. And especially if they're collecting original research, which some of my students have done, but it's extremely difficult, right? To get it fast tracked through IRB, to get a survey out. It's so hard to do that in a semester that a 2-semester sequence is really ideal, but in our current gen ed, like it just doesn't fit to have another course. I mean, just to get the one thing about our honors capstone too is that it's the one course that is not parallel to any other part of the gen ed, right? And so that makes it like a burden for a lot of students who like are nurses or PAs or like basically have every single class mapped out for them for their entire career. I'm sure it's the same at many of your institutions as well. So to have one class where it's like extra and above what they have to do for their major and their gen ed is already like a challenge. And so 2 is sort of beyond the pale for us, but in a conceptual level, that would certainly be preferable.
So I'll share what we do at Dominican. We do have the 2-semester course. And when I took, I took over the program 5 years ago. And if I could tell you that these 2 courses didn't even have a syllabus, there was nothing. So so we started by developing a syllabus, but the courses were essentially for many years run as independent studies. And when I came in there, I found that the students didn't have the support they needed, because they're going at this and it's a daunting task to begin with, and to just kind of go at it as an independent study. So we took our first course, which we call the honors tutorial, and we redesigned it. Actually, speaking of the NCHC conference, my colleague and I just submitted a a proposal for this for the conference, but we kind of redesigned this whole course. It functions as what we consider to be semi-independent. So they do meet, we do have weekly meetings with them. We bring the faculty in at the beginning of the semester to discuss ideas for research, to get them thinking, because they don't have to do something in their major. We want them to, broaden their horizons a little bit. We do writing cohorts with the students so that they support each other in the writing process. We've developed a whole bunch of workshops for them, which include how to write an abstract, because some of them don't know how to write an abstract. Many of our students do human-based projects, research projects, so they have to write a proposal to the IRB. So we have a special workshop for that. We have the library come in to have them, show them how to start the research, and then we have the library come in to show them how to use RefWorks. So when they prepare their annotated bibliography, they have access to this program. And then they present their proposed honors project to the honors committee at the midterm and at the final. So by the time they leave the course, they have their project designed. And then next semester, the course becomes more independent, right? So now they're working really with their mentor. We do keep a support person from the honors committee. So they always have an honors committee advisor that they can keep in touch with. They're still responsible for, certain things that are due over the course of the semester, but it's a lot more independent. And we found it much more successful. The students are better prepared to do the project, and we have better outcomes. We've had some disasters in the past, but now the outcomes are much better. So that's what we do at DC. Anyone else like to share?
I just had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We don't have any capstone, and I don't think, given the nature of our university, we're going to get one, but we might do some kind of junior research project. But I was wondering about staffing, like how many people do you have in your program? So how many sections? Because that seems to be a real stumbling block for me.
So for this past year, for the honors tutorial, we actually had a pretty decent sized class. We had 25 students.
Okay.
And, we had one faculty member do the course. And then, of course, each of the students got to pick their own honors mentor. And then we had the whole honors committee, serving as honors advisors. But, I wanted to get her 2 sections of the course, but it just didn't quite work out. So I was able to convince the dean to give her like an extra credit for teaching the course, since she had so many people to do it. But she loved it. She absolutely loved it, which is great because it got me out of it.
Does anybody have bigger? Because we have 75
Ooh.
seniors, so we're not doing that in a single section.
Oh,
No.
Yeah, I would just say, I mean, we're smaller on the smaller end too. I would say, 25 to 30 in a cohort. And again, like I said before, we still haven't seen the full brunt of the students who have to take the capstone. And so it's getting to the point where it's hard for me to supervise all of them just doing one section a semester. So what I think and ultimately plan to do is to try to spread it out amongst more faculty, to sort of, instead of it's like, okay, here's Dr. Fazioli's capstone class and you have to take that. It's like, find a faculty mentor, and again, there's like, you have to just get like whatever the rate is for doing like a research supervision kind of course. But I think ultimately that's where we're going to have to go as we start to get, 30 students or something trying to do the capstone in an academic year. But I'm sure that's going to present its own. One thing, like with just the one section, is like its simplicity, right? Like I had sort of full control over it. I see all the students, and so I know there's going to be like other kinds of logistical complications when you're going to start to say like, okay, more honors faculty could be involved, and maybe you're taking 1 or 2 students, and it becomes more diffuse at that point, and maybe a little bit less coherent. But that's the only way I can think about, running a larger something as the size of your institution.
So hello, my name is Michael Burke. I'm at St. Joseph's College on the Brooklyn campus. And We don't have an honors capstone course per se, but we do have an honors symposium, and we run, workshops where students present their theses. And I guess my question for all of you who have a capstone course where students present an honors thesis, what do you do then when students also have to do a thesis in their own major? Is this a second thesis that they have to present, or is this in lieu of that thesis? Because that's, would be very interesting. I'd be very interested in finding out how you navigate that.
Yeah, so ours is a separate thesis, and we call it a project. And it has been a little bit of a barrier because, many students do have capstones in their own majors. So to do a second capstone on top of that is sometimes a barrier. But what we've been doing to try to overcome that is we actually encourage our students to do their honors project as a junior rather than wait till senior year, because most of their major level capstones are senior year. So we've been actually getting more and more juniors to take the tutorial. They do the tutorial in the fall, and then they complete their honors project in the spring, so that by the time they get to senior year, they've done all their honors requirements. And that has been successful. It's been quite successful. Every year we seem to get more and more juniors enrolling in the course.
So kind of along those lines, what is the consequence if they don't complete it? Not that that has ever happened, not that that ever will happen, because all our students are wonderful and they always do exactly what's required of them. But what are the consequences if they don't?
So there was not a good system in the system I inherited. And what again, with the communication part is I'm very clear. I'm like, let's off ramp you before the thesis if this is not something you want to do. So having those conversations early. And then we did work it out, but they probably have to pass the class to graduate. If they don't present or they don't submit, they're not going to get honors. But as long, I'm like, because it's part of our core curriculum, how it works. I'm like, you gotta get us something over the finish line to get to the D to graduate. And I don't come to that once I've seen, but yeah, I'm trying to again communicate better to get people out before it's an issue.
Yeah, we've had a few examples, a few instances where students have been unable to do the honors capstone because they're basically the curricular sequence doesn't allow them to do it. And in that case, we have made certain kinds of exceptions where we might take one of their major capstone in lieu of the honors capstone, or sometimes we'll have them do a kind of mini capstone in a different honors course. So it's not ideal, but if a student can demonstrate hey, I literally don't have space in my schedule to complete this, sometimes, rather than just saying, too bad, you can't graduate from the program, we try to work something out where they are doing something extra, even if it's not the traditional honors capstone.
You're on mute, Anne Marie.
Darn it, I'm terrible with technology. I'm sorry. I still haven't after a full year of being on Zoom, you think I'd have this under control. So we have time for a couple more questions or comments?
Just a follow-up question as well. Do you ever find problems finding faculty mentors to help with the students, or is that just because you're able to pay them a certain rate? At my school, that might be a more difficult challenge, and we sometimes rely on the sort of, vague notion of, oh, this is service and this will be good for, when you're coming up. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Do you ever, what are your sort of responses to sometimes finding faculty that would serve as supervisors or advisors to the thesis?
So I guess I'll answer that. So we do offer our faculty a small stipend. I call it a small token of appreciation. I let them know it's a small token of appreciation, a really small token. Sometimes not even noticeable in the paycheck. But I think we have a really good faculty that is really willing to help the students. There are certain faculty members that I know are very good and very reliable. So we really have not had an issue getting people to volunteer, even though the stipend is minuscule, but at least it's a little token of our appreciation. Anyone else have stipends for mentors? Mike just wrote SNHU offers $500. Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. Yeah, my faculty last year, they gave them a $5 raise. I was like, oh, really? Wow. Guess they can retire early. I couldn't believe it. They actually told me, yes, it's $5 more this year. Okay.
That's almost an insult, you know?
Oh, I know. Well, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Thank God, you know, like I said, we have a really great faculty and they're very supportive of the honor students. So despite that, the stipend, they still do it. So we're very fortunate. Okay, so first of all, let's nice round of applause for Patrick. Thank you so much for leading this discussion.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
On the honors capstone. So now we're going to move to our next presenter, who is an old friend, Linda Kovalars from Post University. She was our faculty representative last year. So I had the good fortune to be able to work with Linda and to learn from her. And I still continue to learn from her. I've used many of the things that she has taught me. So I'm really grateful that she's here tonight to present. So tonight, her topic is going to be the basics of developing a budget. And certainly in this time of COVID and, you know, the issues that are facing enrollments in higher education and of course, budget slashing, this is certainly a very relevant topic. So I'm really excited to hear about what Linda has to say. So Linda, I am going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Anne Marie. And let me begin by saying that I have the highest compliments for the NRHC board and how well they have been managing and delivering this virtual conference. So let's give them a round of applause to start off with. I mean, this has been incredible and I miss working with all of you. And so without further ado, let me give you just a quick overview of Post University. It is a private for-profit university in Connecticut that's about 130 years old right now. On campus, we have about 1,000 students. Online, we have about 14,000 students. I've been the honors director from the get-go. So our program is about 9 years old and it has grown and evolved considerably since day one of the program. Right now, I oversee both a campus honors program and an online honors program. And so that has caused me to totally rethink what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I'm very fortunate to have two extremely dedicated and talented assistant directors, one for campus, one for online honors. We started the online honors program in January of 2020 with 45 students in it. And now we have 625 students in it. And so our growth curve has been zoom. And consequently, I've really had to negotiate, reframe my budget and how I go about asking for funding. What I would like to do this evening is share with you some overarching concepts on first getting the funding for the budget that you want, and then looking at if you have specific questions about nuts and bolts, we can get into that as well. And I'm certainly happy to connect with any of you after this session, and my contact information is in the chat. All right. So some of the overarching concepts. Number one, very basic, you need to know what your fiscal year is. And our fiscal year starts July 1, ends June 30th. And usually about this time of the year, my provost, to whom I report, sends me a huge spreadsheet from our finance department that wants me to submit my my budget for the next year. The budget on the on the nuts and bolts level is divided into wages, benefits, those sorts of things. So that's the staffing piece of it. And then you have the operational piece of it, which gets to what do I want to do in the program and what dollars do I need in order to do that. And so what I have learned is that I need to be able to justify every line item. And so I provide a narrative for my provost on every line item in the budget. And so if we have something that is called, well, let me just look right here. So if we have something that is events and activities, I'm going to really give my provost solid information about what we are doing, how that relates to the overarching mission of the honors program, and how our honors program is conceived and the principles upon which it is built. Okay, so that that takes time. However, I never want my provost to go into a budget meeting with our vice president of operations and not have answers. Not have answers. No surprises for her ever, ever, ever. Okay, so that's just some basic kinds of things. When I think about the budget and how I'm going to position it and get the funding for it, I've also learned that is a year-round exercise on my part. And I really have to be working with my provost. I have to be aware of what our strategic goals are as a university. And so always positioning my request, the honors program, in alignment with what those strategic goals are. And I've also learned that the more I can demonstrate that the honors program positively impacts enrollment, that it positively impacts retention and persistence, and that it shows the value and the high quality of our academic offerings, the better I have of demonstrating the value of the honors program overall, and therefore the value of funding that program, not only to maintain its current level, but to imagine more and take us to the next level. And so it's all about return on investment, and you go back to the metrics, and it's got to be done with numbers, because when you want to get administration to say yes to dollars, it's about numbers, and you have to talk their language. You have to talk their language. And so that's why I talk about return on investment. I talk about value propositions, and I absolutely align and give metrics for each of those measures: enrollment, retention, and then the more qualitative piece, which is the academic enrichment and how that demonstrates our overall academic quality. Okay, you with me so far? Yeah, okay, is that making sense? All right, so let me give you a concrete example of how this works. So right now, as I mentioned, I have 2 assistant directors. We started online honors about 14 months ago, and it's huge. And at the end of each term, we are adding about 40 new students to that online honors cohort. So you can begin to see the numbers, all right? Begin to see the numbers. So about 2 months ago, I presented a proposition to my provost that we hire an administrative assistant. So now I'm tapping into the staffing piece, and it's always harder to add staff than it is to add a few dollars onto the line item in the operations part of the budget. I think you all get that, yes? Okay, and so, so now I've got an uphill battle. I spent time, first of all, doing some homework with both of my assistant directors, and how would having an administrative assistant allow us to better focus on enrollment, on retention, on providing an exceptional experience for our students. Those are all buzzwords on my campus. And so each of them came to me and said, well, if we had an administrative assistant, I could get rid of this and I could spend more time on A, B, C, and D. So I put that all together as a value proposition to my provost. Yeah, and she thought about it and she said, you know, you're right. You do need another staff position here in order to do these things. And so, you know, it's been kind of bubbling on the stove for the past 2 months. And this morning, I got an email from my provost who said, put together a 2-paragraph summary for me, metrics-based, that word metrics, and the rationale on why you need this administrative assistant. And when do you need it? I need it by Thursday afternoon. So I was like, oh my goodness, well, okay. But you see, I've already done some of the groundwork. And so now we are going back, and now I'm thinking, I know this is going to be presented to our vice president for operations. He is a numbers man. He lives and breathes in numbers. And so I have charged both of my assistant directors to give me those numbers. Give me those numbers, and I will create the story and the narrative. So that's what I mean about a value proposition, is really understanding now how to tie into the bigger mission, the bigger strategic goals. And by the way, you need to have a copy of your university strategic plan. And it is in the right-hand drawer of my desk, never far away from me, because I constantly refer to it, and everything that I do and plan for the program goes back to aligning with that strategic plan. So far, I've been able to, using this methodology and this process, I've been able to create an entire online honors program, which was hugely expensive, a huge commitment from our administration and from our board of trustees. And I don't mean like $30,000 or $40,000. No. I'm into closer to 6 figures to get that up and running and off the ground. So, you know, these are some kinds of things that I would share with you. If you want to hear directly some amazing tips from my provost, we did an idea exchange. Her name is Elizabeth Johnson, and it's Elizabeth Johnson and Caitlin Grant. And she talks about how we got the online honors program up and running. But more than that, she talks about some of the things that I've just shared with you in terms of return on investment, value propositions, and how we were able to frame our request for an online honors program. She's just amazing. So, you know, that's another place to kind of tap in. So I'm going to stop at this point and open it up to questions, you know, thoughts. How do you go about funding? I will say that we do not have endowments, and we do not have a traditional development director. And so whatever money I get, I have to get from administration. I have to get from administration. But what I'm sharing with you can be used if you want to approach your development director, because it's all about, again, that value to the you know, to the university. If you want to approach your alumni, I worked as a consultant for many, many years before I got into higher education. And I've done a huge amount of grant writing. Again, it's all about value proposition and what's going to resonate with the audience from whom you want some money, okay? And it's just really fabulous. If you look at, you know, our keynote speaker for Saturday, she's done a very interesting thing, and I offer it to you for consideration. She wants to collect some money from us, and so she said she's got this great visual. If you contribute, you know, $500, here's what you will do for a homeless person. If you contribute $50, and so again, when you're working with your development people, and when you are reaching out to your alums, that might be a really good technique to use. So enough from me. Questions?
Anyone have questions for Linda, comments on budgets?
Linda, I don't have any questions, but I think it's amazing what you're doing. You're finding what's successful, effective, and what works for your program. It's amazing listening to you. Nice job.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I'm pretty passionate about honors education, and, you know, I've been really blessed to have administration and faculty that believe in honors education, and they walk the talk.
I think it was obvious that you understand for-profit colleges. Having worked at two for my entire career, one out here on Long Island and Briarcliff, and now Monroe College. Numbers are such an important part of a college like that. I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. And I like the way you talked about how you play towards those numbers to get, you know, what you need in your budget, which is sometimes difficult at a college like that. So doing a fantastic job, it sounds like.
Well, thank you. And really, I've been mentored by my provost. She is totally amazing. I started reporting directly to her when she was dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, moved up to assistant provost. She took me along with her. Thank you, thank you. And now she's provost, and you know, she's just amazing. She's just amazing. So I've learned a great deal, you know, from her. But it, you know, I hate to say this in a way, but education is a business. And even if you are in a public institution, if you're in a small liberal arts institution, you know, somebody has to pay for the lights. And
So-
yeah.
Oh,
Chris.
so Linda, there's a question from Arena, but I think you might have answered this, or maybe other people can answer it. How many of you work directly with the provost rather than with someone who works within the provost's office on budgetary matters?
I know, Linda, you said you work directly with the provost. I'm just curious if others also work directly with the provost, or if there's an intermediary.
At Dominican, I actually work, we technically don't have a provost. They call him the academic dean, but he really is, he functions as the provost. And what I found at my school, we're a very very small liberal arts school. And I do go directly to the dean, provost, when I need something. And I found, that having a really good working relationship with him, I've been able to get things that other people have not. So I've been running this honors program, kind of solo for the past 5 years, and I've taken on another administrative duty at the college. I'm actually chairing a department that actually isn't even my own department. So it's taken me, pulled me in 2 different directions. So, I went to him and said, look, I don't mind helping out the college. It's been a little tough. I could use a little bit of help. There's a lot. Honors is a lot. There's a lot to do in honors. I had no assistant. And he said to me, do you have anyone in mind? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, well, check with her and we'll see if we can make this happen, which I was, absolutely stunned with. So I think having a good relationship, with the one who's going to give you money and support is certainly, I found it works for me.
Yeah.
Where other
Anne
people,
Marie, that is so critical what you just said. And I have a meeting every 2 weeks with my provost, one-on-one. And every 2 weeks, I provide her with an update on the honors program. And it covers the whole spectrum. So I do not write one annual report on the honors program. I think if you do that, and if that's all you do, you're shooting yourself in the foot, really, because you need to be out there. You need to be in their face. You need to be visible every day. Whenever we have a huge honors event, a celebratory event, my president, my CEO, all of the VPs, the deans, everybody gets invited. And believe it or not, a lot of them come. So they know what's going on. They feel the energy and the excitement from the students. And there's nothing that can replace that. And so it's a lot about communicating, building those relationships. And you build them every day. Whenever there's a question about the pandemic and how we do things virtually, we have found ways to move our program forward virtually. It takes a lot of creativity, but it's happening and it's working. And so it is across the whole campus, and a lot of professional development is happening. And so those people that are running workshops and seminars, they know that it's the honors program students who are most likely to show up. And so they ask me to push out their flyers, whatever, to everybody. And so what I've said to them is on your flyer, please include this line: approved for honors program professional development credits. Because if you want to graduate with honors program distinction at post, you've got to accomplish a certain number of credits in professional development. And that's not academic credit, that's credit for attending different things. And so you see how we work together. I help them out and they help me out. And so it's all about when Anne Marie was saying, you've got to build those relationships. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a bit, I guess, of a challenge in that I feel like we have a bit of a broken telephone situation going on where we have someone we communicate with, but it's not someone who makes the decisions. And there seems to be a barrier of that communication actually getting to the provost's office or to the provost rather, and like whoever is making the decisions. And it's extraordinarily frustrating.
Oh
So
my
I don't know if you have any, even just gathering data of how other programs are structured is helpful for us, because we can use that to say, well, other programs report directly to the academic dean or to the provost directly. That's helpful for us to know that. So thank you for sharing how your programs are structured.
Just a question, are you able to get into Okay, so let's talk about IT for a minute, okay? And so that's where all of the data is. And so we have internal systems. So I have something called Campus Nexus Student, and I have access to that. So I can go into raw data, and I'm in Nexus Student at least 3 times a week, and I can mine data. And then I can use that data to tell my story and to craft my value propositions. It's really important that you have direct access to data. So I don't know how many of you do, but that is a key to unlocking the metrics. It really is.
Yeah, I know at my school, it's not as easy for us to get the data. We usually have to go to someone else if we're looking for something specific, so that it does make it a little bit more challenging because we're relying on other people to get the data for us. And then if and as you're doing this research, there's something else you think about, and then you have to reach out again. So it does make it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, that is very frustrating.
Yeah, we in theory have access to the data, but it's not a particularly user-friendly system. So it's like very time consuming to try to pull it. We had someone who was helping us out with that and who left the college, and they haven't rehired that person now for about a year and a half. And then they also want us to be using the data from institutional research, which never aligns with the data that we can pull ourselves. And then it's like, which number is right? You know? And our institutional research is very understaffed. So they're busy, pulling all the data for every single program and everything. So it's tough. I totally get your point, Linda, of like having the data is so important to tell your story, and the people who are making these decisions want these decisions to be evidence-based and data-based and metrics-based, right? But then like if you can't get your hands on the data and you don't have the support to get the data, it's like this maddening cycle right now.
Yeah, my heart bleeds for you.
I will say that having worked with some folks from institutional research, they are always happy when you say, I would love for you to train me on whatever software you have so I can run my own reports, and you can stop bothering them. And then you can get that data whenever you want, and they don't have to run the report for you all the time. So if you offer to do that, maybe you'll get lucky and they'll train you on how to use it.
That's a great suggestion. Thanks, Chris.
I'll say one more thing, just with relationships, with the people who support you, having built that relationship with my academic dean, he has invited me to present to the Board of Trustees. And that really is key, because if you can get in front of the board and show how excited you are, the board is really what's gonna give you a lot of support. So I found that very, very valuable. A little nerve-wracking presenting to the Board of Trustees, but certainly very valuable, because we get out there. We want to be seen on the college. We want them to know what we're doing, and this is a way for us to showcase what we're doing. So, like I said, you always want to keep those doors open. Don't burn any bridges. Keep as many doors open as possible. And I found it works. You get what you want, even on a shoestring budget. Sometimes you can get them to do things for you. I think we have time maybe for one more comment or question for Linda. Anything?
I had one other just quick question related to budget, but maybe just a general question also. Have any of you had decisions made about travel budgets for next year, support of travel budgets? One way or another?
So, again, going back to this, having a good relationship with the dean, we had budget money for travel for this year. And they were trying to take, money back earlier in the year, but I kind of, played my cards right and I held on to it. And I actually got him to agree to use the money left in my travel budget, because obviously we didn't spend it traveling to conferences this semester, but I'm actually going to be able to use that money to pay for the registration fee for NCHC. He said as long as I did it by June 1st, which is the day it opens, because our budget, like Linda's, closes June 30th. But I got him to agree to do that. I was expecting pushback. No, he says that was okay. Okay. It's great.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
I just thanked him very much, and thank you. Didn't question it.
Anne Marie, we're opening up registration for 2022, June 5th.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I think this year, I think they were concerned about the budget, but with the new stimulus bill that just passed, I think the colleges will be getting a little bit more money. So I think it kind of put them at ease a little bit. So I guess they were a little bit more receptive to, spending at least what was in our current budget, as opposed to freezing it, which they normally do at this time of year. So I guess that about does it for tonight. So first of all, I want to thank Linda and also Patrick for your willingness to volunteer to present for us. I found both of your presentations enlightening. I learned a lot from them, and I appreciate both of you giving your time. I know we all are kind of pressed for time these days, but I appreciate you being willing to give your time to share your honors experiences with us. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed tonight's session on the Consultants Corner. And I hope to see you in some of the sessions this weekend.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Good night,
It was fun.
everyone.
Good night.
So since Kat asked us to hang out, should I just close the Zoom room and annoy her?
You're so
Actually,
mean.
maybe stop the
Maybe-
recording.
Maybe stop the recording.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, I did forget that.